Xbox offers some incredible games on Xbox Game Pass, and over the years we have seen some great first-party titles being added to the service on day one. With that in mind, today we will cover the 20 best Xbox exclusives on Xbox Game Pass in 2024. My name is Fletcher. This is Xbox Nation. Subscribe for more Xbox content every single week, and let's delve into these fantastic exclusive games. First up, we have one of my favorite games during the Xbox One generation, and that is the incredible parkour, comic book inspired shoot 'em up known as Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive was released at a time when morale and belief in the Xbox brand was arguably at its lowest, and being an Xbox One exclusive, it somewhat slipped under the radar as a result. It's become a cult classic in recent years though, thanks to its fast-paced gameplay, traversal, over-the-top story, and colourful visuals. This is the Xbox game that was developed by Insomniac Games before they went off to join PlayStation Studios and create Marvel's Spider-Man. It's never received a proper next-gen touch-up, which is definitely a shame, but play it on the Xbox Series X and S and you will still benefit from the Auto HDR feature. This is one game you owe it to yourself to try out, as we're pretty sure you'll find yourself surprised and delighted by just how excellent and addictive it is. One of the most exquisite looking games currently available on any gaming platform is Forza Horizon 5. Playground Games' latest game may not do anything particularly new for the franchise, but it doesn't really need to. This is the open world racer honed to absolute perfection and plonked down in the very best setting the series has seen to date. An endless array of wonderfully flashy sports cars, tons of events, seamless online functionality, and constant, almost overwhelming bells, whistles, and unlockables make every moment you spend with this game feel incredible. Forza Horizon 5 is as good as arcade racing gets in the year of 2024. It might have overextended a bit with its experimental TV tie-in elements, but Quantum Break from Remedy Entertainment has moments where it's a mix of third-person shooting and temporal powers really soars. As Jack Joyce, you've stumbled into the time-manipulating godhood and must use your newfound superpowers to wipe out waves of armed goons at the cataclysmic end of time. It's worth playing Quantum Break just for those moments when you've trapped enemies in a prism-like stasis bubble, peppered them with soon-to-be unfrozen bullets, then walk-dashed over to another baddie for a melee takedown, all in a span of a few seconds. It's nothing short of amazing, and definitely an underrated game from the Xbox One era. You can't really say you've owned an Xbox unless you've played at least one Halo game. It's the series that cemented the console's gaming credentials, and for that reason, Halo the Master Chief Collection is a pretty damn near essential. Not only does it include Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4, but also optionally remasters the earlier games so you can enjoy them as they were originally created, or in a spruced up high fidelity version. There's even multiplayer, although that had a rocky start, and a few years down the line, it's not as busy as it used to be. The main draw here though is the chance to play through 4 of the Xbox's most formative games in their best possible versions. The early games are remade with improved graphics, there are frame rate boosts, redone high-res cutscenes, and even more. Everything's brought up to a modern day standard, remastering and reinvigorating the classics as we've never seen them before. Only one game could replace Ori and the Blind Forest on this list, and that's its sequel, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Both games are worth playing, but Moon Studios' latest action platformer improves on the original in every way, from its fluid platforming to its gorgeous world to its heartbreaking story. It's more inventive, more challenging, and thanks to its totally revamped combat and RPG-like customization systems, it becomes much more involved. It's among the best feeling 2D platformers ever made, and it's one of the finest Metroidvania games of this generation. And it's the perfect send-off to one of the most touching stories available on Xbox consoles. Halo Infinite might have been years in the making, with some Craig-sized bumps along the way, but by the time it finally hit consoles, fans were rightly wowed by the game's focused and compelling multiplayer alongside the vast open world that shakes up Halo's single-player story. Not only does this feel like the most vital Halo since 2010's Halo Reach, but the addition of the grapple hook gives Chief a pleasuring maneuverability that made firefights even more satisfyingly chaotic. After several years in the wilderness, Master Chief is finally back, and the recent overhauls with the multiplayer, it looks as though Halo is getting back on track as being a great Xbox exclusive. Following straight on from the events of Gears of War 4, Gears 5 focuses on the story of Kate Diaz. Struggling to come to terms with the death of her mother, Kate is now focused on finding out more about her past, as in her mother's last moments, she's passed a necklace that bears the Locust Horde icon. All the old favourites are back to, of course, from Marcus Phoenix to his son JD, and it's all in a brilliant Gears experience. It's not just limited to great single player moments or a brilliant co-op story, as there's also an extensive multiplayer component that keeps this game going. Ranging from PvP frays to a glorious horde mode, this literally keeps on giving, and it's a great experience in 2024. Microsoft Flight Simulator is an extraordinary experience, a truly jaw-dropping game that gives you the freedom to hop on to one of the most stunningly recreated planes and take to the skies to explore the world in almost unbelievable levels of detail. Of all the Xbox exclusives on this list, we feel like Flight Sim is truly special and a one-of-a-kind game, and it's quite hard to believe that this was actually made possible to play on consoles today. This is one of the Xbox Series exclusives for obvious reasons, and it'll take you some time to get used to all the various controls, but once it all clicks into place, there's nothing like this game, and Flight Simulator is certainly a stunning experience. There's something for everyone with the Forza series. While Forza Horizon is based on exploring big open world maps and racing in slightly more arcade-like conditions, Forza Motorsport is all about replicating the hardcore simulation aspects of the sport. Just like previous entries in the series, that's exactly what the reboot sets out to achieve, and instead of going to Forza Motorsport 8, the team over at Turn 10 decided to give the franchise a refresh. If you're intrigued by this one, it's definitely something to add to your download list. 2017's Halo Wars 2 is a fantastic RTS spin on Halo, and still has us yearning for a sequel almost 7 years on. Creative Assembly worked with 343 to deliver a great console-catered RTS experience, and the game's Xbox One X enhancements means this still looks and plays great on the Series X. Halo Wars 2 lets you control entire armies of Marines, Warthogs, Scorpion tanks and Spartans on the battlefield, and its narrative slots nicely into the overall Halo storyline. We'd love to see more of this sort of thing arrive for other Xbox franchises, and years later we still treasure our time with both Halo Wars franchise spin-offs. Before we dive into the remaining games, do consider subscribing to keep up to date with all things Xbox. 88% of you are not subscribed to one of the fastest growing Xbox channels on YouTube, and it would be great to see you come along this Xbox journey with us. Thank you for your continued support on the channel, and let's dive into the remaining exclusive games. The first State of Decay was an excellent Xbox 360 exclusive, but there's no doubt that its follow-up, State of Decay 2, takes things to an entirely new level. Introducing way more depth to the game's core mechanics, along with the addition of online cooperative play for the very first time, it may have received mixed reviews back at launch for a variety of reasons, but developer Undead Labs has been hard at work. They have been fixing and improving and adding to the mix for well over 3 years now, with a ton of extra features, with many of them available for free or included with Xbox Game Pass. If you like zombie games, and if you're a fan of all things survival, this is a perfect blend of the two that serves up an almost endless amount of zombie slaying action. Rise, Son of Rome feels a lot like a Call of Duty styled Xbox exclusive in Roman clothing. The bloodthirsty combat and fast pace at the heart of this game gets the adrenaline pumping, and it's packed full of set pieces that are undeniably bombastic. There's an impressive amount of intensity and attention to detail in this one, and it's intensity that's maintained for the duration of the roughly 7-hour campaign. Yes, there are some issues with clunky controls and repetition here and there, and the whole thing falls just short of what we'd hoped it would be, but the narrative is well put together and expertly delivered, and there's still plenty to enjoy overall. It's also, in hindsight, a bit of a treat to have such a spectacular adventure not take weeks of our lives to complete. It'll come at no surprise to hear that Starfield has made this list, and is perhaps the biggest Xbox exclusive to launch throughout the Xbox Series X and S generation so far. Although a couple of critics were a bit lukewarm on it, the vast majority of people had extremely positive things to say about this expansive Bethesda RPG. There's a good chance you bought an Xbox specifically to play this one, so you don't really need us to tell you it's one of the best Xbox exclusives you can play today. Nevertheless, if you haven't tried Starfield yet and you're interested in finding out what all the fuss is about, its Xbox Game Pass arrival is a good way to get started. We're all impatiently waiting on the revival of Fable being developed by Forza Horizon studio Playground Games, but until that time, we're just gonna have to make do with the original 3 Xbox titles: Fable Anniversary, Fable 2, and Fable 3. I could have included any of them here, but we're gonna highlight the second game in particular on this list. If Fable is new to you, it's a very British-style action RPG taking place within the fictional land of Albion. In addition to the main campaign, you can get married and have children, build a property empire, take part in various jobs, and so much more. It may not live up to its creators' ridiculous levels of pre-release hyperbole, but the Fable series is still an absolute gem that you should definitely get stuck into. More than a decade since its Xbox One launch release, Dead Rising 3 remains an Xbox console exclusive, which is certainly still odd to think about to this day. Capcom's open-world zombie-slaying franchise has taken a break since Dead Rising 4, and we reckon the third entry is still up there with the best in the franchise. Sticking with the series' unique timer mechanics, but opening things up significantly, Dead Rising 3 introduced the world of Los Pecados to Xbox fans in 2013, and it's still an absolute romp. Make no mistake, this isn't a post-apocalyptic game that takes itself seriously. Instead, Dead Rising 3 is big, bombastic, and we still think crafting crazy machines to take down hordes of the undead is incredibly fun in 2024. Released back in 2015 to celebrate Rare's 30th anniversary, Rare Replay is a splendid compilation that spans the developer's work across multiple genres and console generations. From the ZX Spectrum right to the Xbox 360, there's a treasure trove to explore here, and it's enhanced by behind-the-scenes footage, interviews, snapshot and rewind features, built-in cheats, and more. There's so much to dig into here, from GoldenEye 007 and also stuff like Saberwolf, RC Pro-Am 2, Blast Corps, Battletoads, 2 Perfect Dark titles, Jet Force Gemini, Killer Instinct, Banjo-Kazooie, and a whole heap more. This is a fascinating history lesson and a boatload of fun times all rolled into one. Killer Instinct is an incredibly fast-paced and technical fighter that's ideal for those looking for a combo-centric challenge to master, whilst remaining accessible enough for those of us who just want to batter stuff. It may have launched in a bit of a lackluster mess back in 2013, but now its definitive edition form is a great big feature-packed beast of a fighter that's jam-packed full of content. Killer Instinct's still got where it counts, and it's available right now on Game Pass, and definitely in the top 20 best exclusives. Gears Tactics takes the series' trademark high-intensity action and successfully plants it into a turn-based tactical format. By stripping out a lot of the expected resource management and downtime inherent in the tactics genre, it focuses instead on keeping you on the ground and in the face of the Locust Horde as much as possible. Instead, it gives itself a uniquely high-tempo flavour, whilst maintaining to imbue encounters with much of the non-stop, brutal and bloody action that fans of the franchise know and love. It may bog itself down here and there with mandatory side missions, and the Locusts are generally straightforward enemy, but overall this is a supremely confident, highly polished effort that successfully remolds Gears of War into a thrilling and engaging new format. Now, if you're like me and you love real-time strategy games, then this next title will definitely get you excited. After years of asking, Age of Empires 4 finally arrived on the Xbox Series consoles for the first time. Don't worry if you have an older Xbox though, as this is also playable via the cloud. Age of Empires has grown and been around now for over 25 years and still has some of the best real-time strategy gameplay on offer, with multitudes of content for players to sink their teeth into. Diving into the game for the first time, you'll be able to enjoy a ton of content, including multiple armies, maps, a robust multiplayer offering, and stunning graphics. The game works incredibly well on the Xbox controller, with a lot of work going into nailing these controls. However, if you're like me and still love traditional mouse and keyboard for RTS games, then this version will also support those inputs. One game that got a lot of stick on launch but easily became a cult classic amongst many Xbox fans is Recoil. This was was a very unique action adventure that is very reminiscent of action platformers back in the day of the original Xbox and PS2 era. You take control of Jewel Adams, one of the last remaining humans on the planet Far Eden. This is a mysterious and dangerous world controlled by robotic foes bent on your destruction. To survive, you must forge friendships with a courageous group of Corebot companions, each with unique powers and abilities. On Xbox Game Pass, we now have access to Recoil Definitive Edition, which includes the main game and the Eye of Obsidian Adventure DLC. Many dismissed this game at launch, but if you want a game with some fantastic platforming and a pretty decent story, then it's well worth a play in 2024. What is your favourite Xbox exclusive ever made? Let me know in the comments below. For me, I love Fable 2, and I cannot wait for the new Fable game to arrive very soon. Whilst here, subscribe for more Xbox content every single week, and check out the video on screen now of the 25 best single player games on Xbox Game Pass in 2024.